Dennis Rader had a resume of extreme, almost aggressive normality. He was a strict municipal compliance officer. He was the president of his church council. He was a husband of 33 years, a father to 2 kids, and eventually a grandfather. In his community, people knew him as a man who operated strictly by the book. He might cite you for an unmowed lawn or a badly parked car, but he did it with stiff professional rigidity. Between 1974 and 1991, this exact same man murdered 10 people in his own city. He called himself BTK. He avoided capture for 30 years, and it wasn't because he was some kind of untouchable criminal mastermind. His camouflage was his absolute boring ordinariness. Rader was actually incredibly sloppy. He left jewelry and identification cards taken from his victims at crime scenes. He sent bizarre, boastful poems to the local newspaper. He even called the police himself to report a body, leaving his actual voice on tape. You have a killer practically begging for attention, handing over evidence, and operating in the same area for 3 decades. How does a person like that go uncaught? This decades-long evasion was the result of a profound failure of imagination. We are conditioned to expect dangerous people to look and act like monsters. When the threat is standing right next to you, wearing a suit and handing out church newsletters, it creates a massive blind spot. To understand how he operated, we have to look at the reality of the crimes. Across 17 years, he took the lives of 10 people, starting with 4 members of the Otero family in January of 1974. This image shows a control board for a security firm similar to the one where Rader worked. During the 1970s, he installed home security systems. That day job provided him with skills to scout potential victims, bypass residential alarms, and understand home entry points. Meanwhile, he ran a dedicated campaign of terror. He mailed letters to the media detailing his crimes, dropped off driver's licenses and jewelry from the victims, and constantly taunted authorities. That arrogant performance tells you exactly how he viewed his situation. He felt perfectly safe operating right under the noses of the investigators hunting him. As the killings continued, local investigators sought help from the FBI. Their behavioral science unit developed a psychological profile to narrow down the suspect list. This diagram shows how that profile worked. They expected the killer to be disorganized, underemployed, and a socially isolated outcast. But look at Rader's actual data points. He was highly organized, maintained steady employment, and deeply embedded in local community leadership. Because of that mismatch, investigators missed him. Rader's name was actually in the original suspect database. He was interviewed, but quickly deprioritized. Profiling is a statistical tool based on past behavior. When a subject deviates entirely from the expected pattern, that profile becomes a filter that actively excludes the right answer. In 1991, the killer went completely silent, but 13 years later, in 2004, a desperate need for attention drove him to resume communicating with the media. In one of his letters, Rader asked police via a newspaper personal ad if a floppy disk could be traced back to him. The police lied and told him it couldn't. This visualization shows what happens when you look inside the files on that disk. Digital files contain hidden metadata, recording specific user information into the code. The metadata on his document contained the author name Dennis and the registration Christ Lutheran Church. Investigators immediately cross-referenced that information with their 30-year-old suspect database. The match was undeniable, and it led to Rader's arrest in early 2005. A man who spent his prime weaponizing the trust of an analog 1970s society was completely undone by his own total ignorance of modern digital forensics. In June of 2005, Dennis Rader stood in a courtroom and pled guilty. His confession was delivered with a completely flat, emotionless tone. He referred to the people he killed as projects. Listening to him describe his crimes, he sounded exactly like the boring, bureaucratic compliance officer he had been for decades. His wife and his 2 kids had built their entire lives on an undetectable lie, and they were left to navigate the wreckage of a family that never really existed. The names of the 10 victims, Joseph, Julie, Joey, Josephine, Catherine, Shirley, Nancy, Maureen, Vicky, and Dolores represent the true reason this story must be remembered. This case leaves us with an uncomfortable reality. Human institutions like families, workplaces, and churches provide excellent cover for dangerous people. And they do it precisely because normal people naturally extend trust to the ordinary-looking individuals standing right beside them.